I feel what I am is not so much defined by my blood or my religion, but by my culture. Well, that's the essence of what we are, isn't it? In my country, or in that part of Europe I come from, so often reality becomes so dramatic that you think theatre is happening in the streets. And yet, theatre thrives, actually, in times of such crisis, even in places like concentration camps, even in Auschwitz.
I want heaven here on earth while I'm alive. Why should I not have it? And with God's blessing. Grant me, O Lord, some change, some liberty. Grant me at least a new servitude.
In Russia, after the revolution, when the country was in civil war and people were eating dogs and cats, and they sat in theaters in sheepskins, and the air was frozen, and the Moscow Art Theatre performed for them plays by Bulgakov, and people felt that that was what they needed as much as food and electricity and heat. I believe theatre as such will definitely come through this period of crisis, but it may jeopardize the future of this theatre.
I found you.
I have been all my life, all my professional life, a theatre director, a freelance theatre director. This has been the first year of my running a theatre and being the artistic director of Theatr Clwyd, which is the biggest adventure in my life, very exciting, and one which now occupies all my thoughts. The crisis, that is really what is damaging. People just thinking how to quickly save and cutting productions and cutting staff. One of the challenges and highlights of this season was to be my long dreamt of production adaptation of Bulgakov's Master and Margarita. We were all set, but because it was at a time of cuts and savings and financial difficulties, this was the first production that had to be cut from my program.
Smashing. All right, let's then get going.
The pressure was to simply not do anything in one slot, thus saving the amount of money that Master and Margarita would have cost. I decided to keep those theatres open by reviving Jane Eyre in the main house. Jane Eyre was our greatest success last season.
Mr. Brocklehurst, there was porridge for breakfast, so badly prepared the girls could not swallow it. I took the liberty of serving an extra lunch of bread and cheese.
The girls are not to be accustomed to habits of luxury and indulgence, but rendered hardy, patient, self-denying. When you put bread and cheese instead of burnt porridge into these children's mouths, you may indeed feed their vile bodies, but think how you starve their immortal souls. Miss Eyre. What is her full name?
Jane Eyre, sir. She is but recently come. She's a good, quiet girl.
All Lowood girls are good, quiet girls. No, there is something else. I will remember presently. Who is that girl over there? She is untidy.
Mrs. Helen Burns, sir.
She will never get to heaven if she continues to be a slattern.
I feel very strongly Polish. I come from Poland. I was brought up in Poland, and I arrived in this country at the age of 24. In Central Europe, there isn't an existence that hasn't been either crushed by history or somehow affected by the developments. either the wars or the revolutions and so on. There isn't anybody whose China hasn't been smashed by tanks at some point of their lives. So we learn to look at reality as a combination of individual destiny and history. And that is something that very strongly informs my perception of what life is about, and certainly what the arts' role is in life.
In the morning, Miss Temple went to see how Helen was, and found Jane Eyre lying asleep beside her in the bed. Helen herself was dead.
The whole Theatr Clwyd complex has a turnover of about £4 million. We get £1.5 million from Clwyd County Council, £500,000 from the Welsh Arts Council, £1 million from box office, and £1 million from other earned income. The County Council is likely to suffer further restrictions from central government next year, and we could be looking at a further 5% cut from the County Council. Added to that, the planning figure from the Welsh Arts Council for next year is a cut of 2%. So if we put those two figures together, we could be looking at a further cut overall of up to 10% next year in our public funding, which would be catastrophic for Theatr Clwyd.
I heard the voice speaking in my head. Was it the voice, or the wind that whistles through the doors of the combe? I am the queen of the high mountain, bride am I of the beauteous one. I lie upon the bed of exaltation, eternal is my desire, unendingly am I with child.
Ar ben hyn glogwyn unig, eisteddau glan forwynig,
At the studio, we are presenting world premiere of an English language new adaptation of Caradoc Pritchard's novel, The Full Moon. I would never have attempted The Full Moon without there being John Owen, who is the co-writer of the adaptation, and my co-director. We shall together try to look at it from the two standpoints, and that's the interesting thing.
The Polish and the Welsh.
Looking at it and hoping that those two will create something, though I expect conflicts and clashes and interesting...
It has been the most excruciating 3 months of my life in trying to get a form that would lend itself and be made accessible to non-Welsh speaking people and English people, because, as you know, Theatr Clwyd appeals to about 60% of its audiences from across the border. And it must stand in its own right as a piece of theatre and as a piece of literature. It's been like putting a chain through the eye of a needle. Very, very hard.
The language of my forefathers, they say Mazel Tov. I'm sorry, but without it I wouldn't feel that we have truly launched this ship. Jane Eyre is transferring to London, so we are here rehearsing. It's about to open. In the meanwhile, Full Moon is enjoying a very, very good success with the public and the press. And at the same time, we're facing almost a complete cut to our next year budget. We've got a knife on our throat. Either we come up with a program which is impossible, or we're closed. The company closes.